everyone. Thank you for your subscriptions, your encouragement, and your comments. If you have not yet subscribed, I entreat you to do so, and also don't forget to click on the notification button so that you will be notified whenever a new lesson is uploaded. Please, let's share ideas together so that we will enrich our knowledge on literature. In our previous lesson, we looked at character, and we realized that characters are categorized into three, which are the archetype, the role play, and quality. We also looked at characters by degree of development, and we realized that we have the round and the flat character. Today, we are going to take lessons from Shakespeare, and we all know who Shakespeare is. But if you don't know, I would want to share a little about who Shakespeare is. Shakespeare is believed to have lived around the 1564 and to 1616. He was an English playwright, a poet, and an actor, widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's greatest dramatist. Shakespeare wrote about 39 plays, 154 sonnets, and 2 long narrative poems. His plays have been translated into every major living language. And Shakespeare, as we said, is a well-noted playwright in the 15th to the early 16th century. Today, one of his works that we are going to look at is the text As You Like It. And As You Like It is a book that talks about two lovers who are Rosalind and Orlando. Rosalind, in order to get Orlando as husband or lover, had to disguise herself as a boy so that she would teach Orlando how to woo, and in so doing, Orlando was able to get Rosalind as his lover. And Rosalind, in her attempt to cure Orlando from his infirmity, in quotation, fell in love with Orlando, and was so clear to Orlando that Rosalind, the disguised boy, was rather a she. But our concentration is not on the two major characters, Rosalind and Orlando. We want to look at a profound statement that was made by one character called Jacques. Jacques was a melancholic character, and he was a lord that attended to the Duke Senior. This particular statement of his is a profound one which we want to take lessons from, and it is titled, or I have titled it, All the World's a Stage. This is a statement found in As You Like It, Acts 2, Scene 7, and we will take lessons from this particular statement by Jacques. I would want to read so that we can take the lessons one after the other, after the reading. So I read, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, merrily and packing in the nurse's arms, then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwilling to school, and then the lover, sighing like feathers with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and beard, like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the colonel's mouth. And then the justice, in fair rounded belly with good copper lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and posh on side, his youthful horse well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Now, we want to look at the content of the poem and take lessons from this particular poem. I call it a poem because it's something that Shakespeare used to do. He mostly wrote his lines in poetic, rhythmic forms, and we believe that Shakespeare usually wrote in iambic pentameter. So we will look at the lines of this poem so that whatever lesson that Shakespeare would want to teach us, we will get it in a better way. All was a stage. Shakespeare basically classifies the world in which we live in as a stage. That is a platform where actors and actresses would come and exhibit whatever they would want to show their audience. So he classifies the world as drama, and he says that, and all the men and women merely players. So every human being, be it a man or a woman, is an actor or actress. So players in this sense means that we are all actors or actresses in this world. That is why he says the world is a stage, and the men and women who live in this world are players. They have their exits and their entrances. The exits and entrances here specifically refers to the birth and death of humans. So in a play or in a stage drama, there is an entrance to the stage and there's an exit out of the stage. This same scenario is applicable in human life. We have entrances to the world and we have exits out of the world. We enter into this world through birth and we exit out of this world through death. So he says that they have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. So Shakespeare gave us an idea that human life has been classified in 7 ages or 7 stages, and he groups these 7 stages into, or he relates these 7 ages to 7 acts, because he had already given the idea that the world is a stage and we are actors and actresses. Whatever we do in this world, according to Shakespeare, we have 7 different acts. 7 different acts. That is why he says that, and one man in his time plays many parts. So we individually have different parts that we play in these 7 acts. At first, the infant. So the first stage of man is the infant, or the first act of man is the infant. The first age of man is the infant. And what does the infant do? Mewling and plucking in the nurse's arms. Mew, that is, cries. So as infant, we cry, we spit out milk. So we mew and we pluck in the nurse's arms. This is basically what every human being goes through at this particular stage. Whenever we come to this world, you always come as an infant. You always come as an infant. And this is a characteristic feature of every infant. We tend out to cry many a times, and we vomit anytime we are being fed by our mothers. Sometimes we bring out the milk that we are being fed by our mothers because of this crying nature of our stage. Then the whining schoolboy. So we move on from stage 1 or act 1 to act 2. And as players, this particular stage of our life is what we term the schoolboy. The schoolboy stage is symbolically representing our childhood. So, the schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face. So, the satchel represents our school bag. And anytime that we get to this particular stage, most of us will be enrolled in a particular school, and we move to school with our bags. And he says that an shining morning face. This shining morning face specifically represents our innocence. Our innocence. Creeping like snail, unwilling to school. Creeping like snail, unwillingly to school. We sometimes find ourselves being dragged by our parents because we unwillingly accept the fact that we want to school. So we creep like snails. The use of simile over here tells us the intensity of our unwillingness we are so unwilling to school to the extent that we walk like snails. And with that pace of a snail, it means that it takes longer time for our parents or our elder sisters or brothers to convince us to get to school. And he uses the word creep. So this is the second stage of human life. We move from the infant to the schoolboy stage. Now let's look at the third stage. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Now the lover here is basically the adolescent. So during the adolescent stage, where the teens, so from about 13 to 20, we express that desire to love. And we are told by Shakespeare that our love is like a furnace. We sigh like furnace. So we are giving an indication over here that we bubble with love to the extent that this kind of love that we exhibit give us an idea that anything that comes our way will be burnt. We sigh like furnace. We exhibit some signs of fire because we are having that burning desire to love. With a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and beard, like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. So we move from the lover stage to a soldier. A soldier here means that at this particular stage, it refers to the pragmatic man, the practical man, or the middle-aged man. At this stage, we are full of the zeal. We are full of the zeal to make promises and the desire for fame. So he says that the soldier is full of strange oaths, strange promises that he knows that he cannot fulfill. Promises that he knows that are beyond his capabilities. These are some of the things that some middle-aged men do. They make promises that they know they cannot fulfill. They make promises that are beyond their capabilities. And we are told that the beard is like the pard, a leopard. So the pard over here represents the leopard. And at that particular stage, a lot would want to leave beards so that they will be seen as grown-ups and no more children. Jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel. This is a characteristic feature of this particular stage in human life or in man's life. We are sudden and quick in quarrel and jealous in honor. Because we are looking out for fame, we always become jealous of whatever others are achieving, and we fight to achieve this particular honor or fame. That is why in the next line he says that seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. Bubble reputation. Bubble. Reputation that he knows that it will not last. It bubbles. So it moves up, and when it gets an encounter with the air, for some time, it bursts. So this kind of reputation is not long lasting. Yet the soldier will look for this reputation even in the cannon's mouth. This means that he dares to even die because of fame. Because of fame, the soldier would want to even die. The soldier would want to even die because of fame. So this is what goes on at this particular stage. Then he moves on to the next stage. And the next stage is what he terms the justice. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. So at this stage, that is the stage where he classifies as the justice stage. Justice simply means that we become logical. Man then moves from the pragmatic stage where he's so wild with promises and would want fame. So he dares to even die in the cannon's mouth because of fame. Here man becomes so logical, and he says that the justice has fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. We are given the idea that this particular stage, man at the previous stage where he was a soldier, he got beards. He left beards around his face. But at this particular stage, he cuts the beard, and he classifies that as formal cut. Formal cut. He wants to look presentable, so he presents himself in that formal way. And we are told that in fair round belly with good capon lined. In the olden days, Shakespeare's time, it was believed that judges did not charge for their services, so they got gifts in the form of fowl. So people came with hen, cock, and this is what he terms as capon. So they line up items to be given to judges, and we are told he has fed himself with these chickens. That is why he says he has a fair round belly. Now he moves on to say that he is with severe eyes. Wild. This shows that he has a wild vision. And his wild vision justifies why he says he's full of wise saws. Saws here is simply means sayings, wise sayings, which refers to proverbs and modern instances. So the judge or the justice, the logical man, is able to give instances to buttress his argument because he's logical. He is able to present instances in the modern times and even relate them to proverbial sayings. So this particular stage of man shows how wise man becomes, shows how logical man becomes. And in his logical state, he is able to exhibit wisdom and present his cases with proper instances which would justify his viewpoint. Then he moves on to the sixth stage, and he says, the sixth age shifts. The sixth age shifts. So there's a shift. We have been given the 5 different stages of man. Then at this particular stage, he says that there's a shift. So man has become an infant. Man has become a schoolboy. Man has become a lover. Man has become a soldier. And man has become a justice. But he says that there is a shift in the stage of man. So let's look at this shift. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon. Pantaloon was the name given to characters who were seen as old, and is an Italian word. So we are told that the sixth age shifts. So man moves from his energetic stage to old age. And he becomes lean, thin. And instead of wearing shoes, we are told that he's in slippers. Into the lean and slippered pantaloon. So the age brings to the fore man in this particular stage becomes thin, becomes old, and even forgets his youthful stage where he dressed in a formal way. He dressed to appeal to others. So the sixth stage, which shifts to this particular age, that is the old age, has certain characteristics. And he says that aside it being lean, he is with spectacles on his nose and posh on side. So the spectacles, we see many old men put their spectacles on their nose because probably they cannot see what they would want to see well, or they would want to have a better vision of whatever they would want to see. So at that particular stage, a lot of these old men put on spectacles or wear spectacles, and a characteristic feature of their wearing of spectacles is they putting it on their nose. His youthful horse, well saved. So the horse here represents his undergarment, something that he used when he was young, which he has saved to this point of his age. A world too wide for his shank. A world too wide for his shank. So this particular undergarment becomes something that is so large or wide for him to put on, because his features, his body is so lean, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in the sound. And his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. So this becomes a characteristic feature of old age, where we are given the idea that even his speech becomes piping and whistling. He is no more in his manly feature where he spoke with that vim and vigor, but now whatever you hear as a sound in his speech is treble. So this becomes the old age stage of man. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history. So the last scene, he uses the scene because he has already classified the world as a stage, and whatever stage that man goes through is also classified as an act. So the 7 acts, and the last scene of this particular stage drama that ends the strange eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. So man becomes a child again, and one characteristic feature of man at this stage is forgetfulness. Man easily forgets whatever goes on and whatever has gone on in his life, because he is now back to his childhood. He is not a child, but the mind has moved back to that stage of innocence where he will not remember anything that he has done in this world and will behave again as a child. And he says that sans feet, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. At this particular stage, man is without teeth. Man is without eyes. Without eyes means that vision becomes so blurred, sometimes total blindness. Man is without taste and is without everything. So these are the stages that every man goes through in life. And becoming aware of this will give us that idea on how to prepare our lives to meet the strange aspects of this world. So if you are young, get to know that there are stages in life, and you definitely get to the old age. After old age, you might end up suffering from mental dementia, which simply means that you might end up forgetting everything and being in your childish ways again. Sans everything, man will end up losing everything. Man will end up being without everything. And without everything means that death will lay its icy hands on us. So as we entered through birth, we will exit through death. So from birth to death, there are specific things that we need to identify and take chances to maximize our opportunities. So Shakespeare shares this with us and gives us that indication that this is a profound insight into human nature. And if we take particular consideration of these stages, it will pre-inform us as to what to do at every stage, so that we will not lose the opportunities that stages present to us. This poem also gives us the transitory nature of life and fame. Man will move from one stage to the other until you die. So we are not beings that will live forever. We are not beings that will be children forever. We are not beings that will be at the soldier stage forever. You will move from one stage to the other until death picks you out from this world. So Shakespeare, in summary, gives us 7 stages in man's life. And he says that these stages are the infant stage, the schoolboy stage, the lover stage, the soldier stage, the justice stage, the old age stage, and the death stage. So man will move from infancy to death, because we entered through birth and we will exit through death. So let us take this as a lesson, so that we prepare ourselves better to experience whatever opportunity that God presents to us at every stage in our lives. As a whining schoolboy, if you don't take that opportunity to maximize whatever your parents present to you, and you continuously complain, drag your feet, you will never turn out to be someone that will benefit from education. So, this is a lesson that Shakespeare shares with us. Even though Shakespeare talked about this in the 1600s, it is still relevant in our contemporary world. That is why I found it necessary to share with us this particular lesson from Shakespeare. And I believe that this has helped us to refashion or rethink about our lives, so that we will not end up as poor, we will not end up as destitute. This is why I'll draw the curtain on today's lesson. Before I end today's lesson, I want to introduce us to a reading test for the month of September. And this test is The Lion and the Jewel. In this month, I would encourage all of us to read Soyinka's Lion and the Jewel. And maybe at the end of the month, we'll have a discussion of that particular text. Please, if you have not subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe. And don't forget to click on the notification button, so that every upload of ours, you will be notified. Thank you very much, and we will meet next week, God willing.